Hi everybody. In goal number 2, we're going to be solving by factoring. In order to solve by factoring, we have to recall some of the methods that we actually encountered from P4, P5. So one of the first methods we did was factoring when the leading coefficient is equal to 1. We did factoring when there is a GCF, and then we did factoring by bottoms up, and that was when the leading coefficient was not equal to 1. In order to solve any one of these problems, we need to first make sure that all of the quadratics are set equal to 0 because we're going to apply the zero product rule. In order to do this, take a look at the first one here. So we have the leading coefficient is equal to 1 and everything is equal to 0. So since everything is set the way we need it, go through and just factor it the way we normally would. We're going to set up our grouping symbols. We're going to put our x's in the first spots because remember x times x is x squared. And then what we're going to look for is what are the factors of 40 that when I put them together, adding or subtracting, would equal a negative 6. The only factors that we can use that would equal a negative 6 would be negative 10 and positive 4. Because negative 10 plus 4 is negative 6, and negative 10 times 4 is negative 40. Once we've got that, we're going to set these equal to 0. That's using the zero product rule. So we take x minus 10 and set it equal to 0, and we're going to take x plus 4 and set it equal to 0. And then we just do a little solving for each one of them. So the first one is that x is equal to 10, and the second one is x equals negative 4 if we subtract 4 from both sides. Short, sweet, simple. Okay. When we're doing factoring with GCF, okay, and you would recognize this by a problem that has greatest common factor. Not every one of them will be this way. As I said previously, the first thing that has to be done is each one of these has to be equal to 0. So we need to take the 30x and move it over to the left side. Generally, when we're doing these, we want to try to keep the term that has the highest degree as a positive. If it were a negative, move it so you make it positive. It'll make your life easier and skip one of the steps later. So let's move the 30x over. That will change our problem to 20x cubed minus 4x squared minus 30x equals 0. Now that everything is equal to 0, let's start doing our solving method. Take out the GCF, which in this case happens to be a 4x. That's going to leave us with, oh, and it's not 4, I'm sorry, I wrote a 20 here. It's a 2. So it's just 2x, which will leave us with x squared minus 2x and minus 15. And that equals 0. So now that we've taken our GCF, we've got 2x, and the trinomial that's remaining is a leading coefficient of 1. So we're going to treat that just like we did the previous problem here. We're going to find the factors of 15 that will add up to a negative 2. Those factors are x minus 5 and x plus 3. Again, because negative 5 plus 3 is negative 2, and negative 5 times 3 is negative 15. When we look at our answer, or when we go from here, we look at the degree. And in the problem, our degree of 3 determines that there's supposed to be 3 solutions for this. Just like in the first one, our degree of 2 determined that there were supposed to be 2 solutions, and we got 1, 2 solutions. If the degree is 3, we're going to have 3 separate solutions, so we need to solve for each one of them. In this case, let's set this equal to 0, and we solve, we get that x is equal to 0. If we take this right here, set x minus 5 equal to 0, we end up with x equals 5. And for our last one, take it and set x plus 3 equal to 0, and we're going to solve, we get x is equal to negative 3. So these are our three separate answers, 0, 5, and negative 3. The last problem that we're going to try is factoring by bottoms up. And remember, we do this when the leading coefficient is not equal to 1 and there's no more GCFs to take out. Let's start by setting everything equal to 0. So let's move the 3x over, and we end up with 2x squared minus 3x minus 5 is equal to 0. Now for bottoms up, recall we're going to use a little chart to help us do this information here. We're going to take negative 3 and put it on the top. And we're going to take the a value and the c value and multiply them together. So 2 times negative 5 is equal to negative 10. So what we're going to look for are the factors of negative 10 that will add up to negative 3. Hopefully you guys are able to get that, and it's 2 minus 5. 2 minus 5 is negative 3, and 2 times negative 5 is negative 10. We're now going to use our a value, and we're going to divide each one of these by that a value. And then we're going to reduce them if they can be. So the first one is 2 over 2, which will simplify and become just a 1. That means that my first factor here is going to be an x plus 1. Negative 5 over 2 does not reduce, so that means my next factor is going to be here as an x minus 5 over 2. Now normally when we did bottoms up, you would actually take and move this 2 up in front of the x here, so we'd have 2x minus 5. But we're not trying to just factor this, we're trying to solve. So let's save a step and actually just solve each one of these. So x plus 1 is equal to 0, that means x is equal to negative 1. For x minus 5 over 2, we're going to add 5 over 2. First, let's write it x minus 5 over 2 equals 0. Add 5 over 2, we get x equals 5 over 2, and we are done. So now that you got those 3 examples taken care of, go ahead and pause the video. Try to do these 3 problems right here. They're randomly mixed up, and then go ahead and solve them. I think I already said solve. When you're done, go ahead and hit play, and we'll go through the answers here. Okay, so to start, for letter A, 3x squared minus 10x minus 8 equals 0. There's no GCF, and the leading coefficient is not equal to 1, so we're going to do bottoms up. This will be negative 10, negative 24 for my AAC. This will be negative 12 plus 2. We're going to use that A value of 3, so divide by 3. We get negative 4. My factor is x minus 4. Here it doesn't reduce, so this is x plus 2 over 3. And that means your answer for this first one is x equals 4, and the other one is x equals negative 2 over 3. For letter, oh my gosh, it wasn't even on the screen. For letter B, we're going to have x squared equals negative 3x plus 18. You could move the x squared over here, but that would make it a negative. So let's take the other two and move them to the left and keep x squared as a positive. So if we do this, we got x squared plus 3x minus 18 is equal to 0. Trinomial, leading coefficient 1 with no GCF. So the factors of negative 18 that will add up to 3 are x plus 6 and x minus 3. That will give us that our first answer here is x equals negative 6. And this x here is x equals positive 3. And the last problem. Get everything equal to 0. So let's move everything over so it stays positive, so the highest degree stays positive. So we're going to have 0 equals 3x cubed plus 3x squared minus 6x. Let's take out the GCF of 3x from this, which will leave us with x squared plus x minus 2. This is a trinomial with the leading coefficient of 1 now that we've taken the GCF out, which means we're going to have x plus 2 and x minus 1 for the factors. Those are the factors of negative 2 that add up to positive 1. Solve each one of these, we get x equals 0, x equals negative 2, and x equals 1. I hope this helps. Please see me during seminar if you have further questions or need more examples taken care of. Look forward to the next video. Bye.